Welcome to English Prime Podcast. Let's get started.
Hey, English learners. Welcome back to English Prime Podcast. Here, we learn real English through simple conversations, daily life stories, and powerful communication tips. So relax, enjoy, and let's improve your English together. I'm Emma.
And I am Jake. We are happy to have you with us today. You know, every day we talk with people, we share our experiences, and we answer simple questions like, "How was your day?" But sometimes even this simple question can feel difficult to answer.
That's true. I think almost everyone has experienced this. Someone asks you about your day, and you just say, "It was good," or "It was okay," and then the conversation stops there. But the funny thing is, a lot of things happen in our day. We just don't always know how to explain them in a natural way.
Exactly. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Because talking about your day is not only about saying what you did, it's about sharing your experience, your feelings, and those small moments that make your day different.
Yes, and I really like this topic because it is something we all do in real life. Whether you are talking to a friend, a family member, or even someone new, the way you describe your day can help people understand you better.
And sometimes people think they need to have an exciting life to have interesting conversations. They think, my day was normal, nothing special happened. But I don't think that's true.
I agree. Even a normal day can become an interesting story when you know how to talk about it. For example, instead of only saying, "I went to work today," you can share a little more. You can say, "I had a busy morning at work, but something funny happened during the day." Suddenly, the conversation feels more alive.
Right. It's not always about having a big story. Sometimes it's just about adding small details. How did you feel? What happened next? What did you learn? These little things make your conversation more natural.
And I think many English learners struggle with this because they focus too much on being perfect. They worry about making mistakes, so they keep their answers very short.
Yes, and that can stop them from expressing themselves. Because communication is not only about perfect sentences. It's about connecting with another person and sharing your thoughts.
So today, we are going to explore how you can talk about your day like a pro, not by using difficult words, but by learning how to tell simple stories in a better way.
We'll talk about why people find this difficult, how to make your daily conversations more interesting, and how small changes can make your English sound much more natural.
And if you enjoy these kinds of conversations and want to improve your English naturally, don't forget to like the video and stay with us. Now, let's talk about why describing your day feels so simple, but can actually be a little challenging.
Yes, because when we really think about it, talking about your day sounds like one of the easiest things to do. We all have a day, we all do things, and we all experience different moments. But when someone suddenly asks, "How was your day?" our mind sometimes goes completely blank.
That happens to a lot of people. It's interesting because we spend the whole day doing different things, but when we need to explain them, we don't know where to start. We think, what should I say? Or is this interesting enough?
Exactly. And I think one big reason is that people believe they need to tell a perfect story. They feel like their answer has to be something exciting, something special, or something that sounds impressive. But real conversations don't work like that.
That's true. Most daily conversations are not about huge events. They are about simple moments. Maybe you had a small conversation with someone. Maybe you solved a problem. Maybe you learned something new. Or maybe you had a difficult moment but handled it well.
Right. And those small things are actually what make a person's day unique. Two people can have the same routine, but they will experience it differently. One person might feel happy about a small success, while another person might feel tired because of the same situation.
I think this is where emotions become important. When we only describe actions, the listener knows what happened, but they don't really understand us. Adding feelings makes the conversation warmer and more human.
Yes. Imagine two people talking about their workday. One person says, "I went to work, had meetings, and came home." That's okay. But another person says, "I had a busy day at work. The meetings were a little stressful, but I was happy because I finally finished an important project."
The second person is not using difficult English. They're just sharing a little more, and that little extra information gives the other person a reason to ask more questions.
Exactly, because good conversations are not just about answering questions. They are about creating a connection. When you give details, the other person has something to respond to.
And I think many English learners miss this because they focus only on grammar. They think, if my sentence is correct, then my conversation will be good. But there is another part of communication that is just as important.
Yes, the human part. The way we share our thoughts, our feelings, and our experiences. Sometimes a simple sentence with real emotion sounds much better than a perfect sentence that feels empty.
That's a great point. And another challenge is that many people don't know how to continue after the first sentence. They can start, but then they don't know what to say next.
Exactly. They might say, "My day was busy," and then they stop. But that sentence is actually a beginning, not the end. You can continue by asking yourself simple questions.
Like, why was it busy? What happened? How did I feel? These questions help you turn a short answer into a natural conversation.
And this is something everyone can practice in daily life. You don't need to sit down and memorize long sentences. You can simply start noticing your own day and how you would explain it to someone.
Because at the end of the day, talking about your day is really about sharing your experience. It's about letting someone see a small part of your life through your words. And once you understand that, even a normal day can become an interesting conversation.
Yes, and I think the next important step is learning how to turn those normal moments into a small story. Because when people tell stories, they don't just give information. They take the listener through the experience with them.
That's true. And storytelling might sound like something only for big events or special moments, but actually, we use it every day. Even when we tell someone about our morning, we are already telling a small story.
Exactly. A simple daily story usually has a natural flow. You start with what happened first, then you explain what happened after that, and finally you share how you felt about it.
For example, instead of saying, "I had a bad morning," you can explain a little more. You can say, "I woke up late this morning, so everything felt rushed. I had to get ready quickly, but after that, my day became much better."
And notice something important there. The story is not complicated. There are no difficult words, but the listener can imagine the situation. They can understand what happened and how you felt.
Yes, and that's what makes someone sound more natural in English. They are not just giving a report, they are bringing the listener into the moment.
I really like that idea, because many people think speaking English well means using advanced vocabulary. But sometimes the best conversations come from simple words used in a meaningful way.
Exactly. A person can use very easy English and still sound interesting if they know how to connect their ideas. And one thing that helps a lot is adding small details.
Right. Details are what make the story feel real. You can talk about the place, the situation, or even a small reaction you had. Those little things make your words feel more alive.
For example, imagine someone says, "I met my friend today." That's okay, but we still don't know much. What happened? Why did they meet? How did it feel?
But if they say, "I met my friend after a long time today. We talked for an hour and honestly, it was nice because I really needed that conversation. Now we understand more."
Yes, and the interesting thing is, the second person didn't need a huge story. They just added a few simple details and feelings. That's what changed the whole conversation.
And this is something we can do with any part of our day. Maybe you went shopping, studied, worked, cooked, or even stayed at home. Every moment can become a story if you know how to describe it.
I think another helpful thing is not trying to say everything. Sometimes people think they have to explain their whole day from morning until night, but that can make the conversation feel tiring.
Exactly. You just need to choose the moments that matter. Maybe something funny happened, something difficult happened, or something made you feel happy.
Because when you choose those moments, your conversation becomes more natural. You are not just listing events. You are sharing the parts of your day that had meaning for you.
And that's what good speakers do. They don't just tell people what happened. They help people understand why it mattered.
I love that because it changes the way we look at daily conversations. Suddenly, even a simple question like, "How was your day?" becomes an opportunity to connect with someone and share a little story.
Yes, and I think there is another layer that makes these conversations even better. It's not only about what happened during your day, but also about what you noticed, what you felt, and what you learned from those moments.
That's a really good point, because two people can experience the same situation, but they might tell the story in completely different ways. One person might only focus on the event, while another person talks about the emotions behind it.
Exactly. And emotions are what make people listen. When someone says, I was nervous before my presentation, but after I finished, I felt really proud, we understand their experience. We can imagine that moment.
Yes, and I think this is something many English learners forget. They spend a lot of time learning words and sentences, but sometimes they don't practice expressing their feelings.
Right. They know how to say what they did, but they don't always know how to say how they felt. And that's a very important part of communication.
Because in real conversations, people usually want more than information. If I ask my friend about their day, I don't only want to know where they went. I want to know how their day was for them.
Exactly. For example, if someone says, I had a meeting today, I know what happened. But if they say, I had a difficult meeting today and I was a little worried at first, but later I felt more confident, now I understand their experience.
And that small difference makes the conversation much warmer. It feels like you are talking to a person, not just listening to a list of activities.
Yes, and this also helps when you don't have something exciting to talk about. Because honestly, most days are normal. We wake up, work, study, relax, and do regular things.
That's true. Most of us are not having a movie-like day every single day, but that doesn't mean we have nothing interesting to share.
Exactly. Sometimes the smallest things create the best conversations. Maybe someone helped you. Maybe you solved a small problem. Or maybe you learned something about yourself.
And these moments are actually valuable because they show personality. The way you react to everyday situations tells people a lot about you.
Yes. For example, two people might both have a busy day. One person says, my day was terrible because I had too much work. Another person says, my day was really busy, but I felt happy because I managed to finish everything.
That's a great example, because the event is the same, but the perspective is different. The way we describe our day can change the whole feeling of the conversation.
Exactly. And this is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being honest and learning how to express yourself clearly.
I really like that, because sometimes people think speaking well means always sounding positive, but real conversations include everything: good moments, difficult moments, and everything in between.
Yes, and that honesty is what makes conversations feel real. When you share your true experience, people can connect with you more easily.
And I think this is also where confidence comes from. When you stop trying to create a perfect answer and just start sharing your real thoughts, speaking becomes easier.
Absolutely. The goal is not to impress people with your English. The goal is to communicate your ideas and let people understand you.
And once you start doing that, even simple conversations become much more meaningful. A normal day is no longer just a list of things you did. It becomes a small story about your life.
Exactly. And I think there is another interesting thing about daily conversations. Sometimes people believe that they need a very exciting life to become a good storyteller, but I actually don't agree with that.
Really? I understand what you mean, but I think some people naturally have more interesting experiences. They travel more, meet more people, or do different things every day.
That's true, but I think the way you tell a story matters more than the story itself. A person can talk about a simple moment and still make it interesting if they share it with details and emotions.
That's a good point. So you are saying the value is not only in what happened, but also in how we explain it.
Exactly. Think about two people talking about drinking coffee in the morning. One person might say, I drank coffee today. That's just a fact. But another person might say, I was feeling tired this morning, but after having coffee and sitting quietly for a few minutes, I felt ready for the day.
Yes, the second one feels different. It's still a simple moment, but now we understand the person behind it. We understand their mood and their experience.
Right. And this is why small details are powerful. They give life to your words. They help the listener imagine the situation instead of just hearing information.
I think this is also connected to confidence. Some people don't share their stories because they think, nobody will care about my normal day.
Yes, and that thought can stop people from communicating. But the truth is, people connect with simple and honest experiences all the time. Everyone has normal days, and everyone has small moments that mean something.
That's true. Even a small mistake can become an interesting story. Maybe you forgot something important. Maybe you were late. Or maybe you had a funny misunderstanding.
Exactly. And those moments often make conversations better because they are real. Nobody expects every conversation to be perfect or every day to be amazing.
I like that because it takes away some pressure. You don't have to prepare a perfect answer before someone asks about your day. You can just think about what happened and share it naturally.
Yes, and another thing that helps is being curious about your own day. Sometimes we move so quickly that we don't even notice our own experiences.
That's a really interesting thought. We go through our day, but we don't stop and think, what was the best part of today? Or what did I learn from this?
Exactly. And those questions can help you find things to talk about. Maybe the best part was a small conversation, a small achievement, or even a peaceful moment.
And I think asking yourself these questions can also improve your English because you are practicing how to explain real experiences.
Yes, because you are not just memorizing sentences. You are training yourself to think in English and describe your own life.
That's actually the biggest goal. When English becomes connected to your real experiences, it starts feeling more natural.
Absolutely. And once you learn to talk about your own day, you can talk about almost anything, because every conversation starts with sharing your thoughts and experiences.
And that brings us to another important question. If describing your day is a skill, what are some simple mistakes people make that stop their conversations from becoming more natural?
That's a great question, because I think many people make small mistakes without even realizing it. And the first one is giving answers that are too short. They answer the question, but they don't really continue the conversation.
Yes, like when someone asks, "How was your day?" and the answer is just good. It's not wrong, but it doesn't give the other person much to work with.
Exactly. A short answer can sometimes close the door on the conversation, but adding just one or two extra details can completely change the way people respond.
For example, instead of saying, "My day was good," you can say, "My day was good. I finished an important task and I felt really happy after that." Now the other person has something they can ask about.
Right. They might ask, what task was it? Or why was it important? And suddenly the conversation continues naturally.
I think another common mistake is trying to translate everything from your first language before speaking. Some people spend so much time searching for the perfect sentence that they lose the moment.
Yes, and that can make speaking feel stressful. In real conversations, people don't wait for perfect words. They share their thoughts and explain them in a simple way.
Exactly. Sometimes simple English sounds more natural than a complicated sentence. The goal is to make people understand you, not to show how many difficult words you know.
And another thing is that some people only talk about actions. They say, I went here, I did this, I did that, but they forget to include their reaction.
Yes, because your reaction is what makes the story yours. Anyone can say what happened, but only you can explain how you felt about it.
For example, saying, I talked to my friend today is just information. But saying, I talked to my friend today and it really helped me because I was feeling stressed, gives the listener a better picture.
That small emotional detail makes a big difference. It shows personality and makes the conversation more meaningful.
And there's one more mistake I notice. Sometimes people think every story needs to be long. But actually, a good conversation doesn't mean talking for 5 minutes without stopping.
That's true. Sometimes people try so hard to explain everything that the main idea gets lost. A natural conversation has balance.
Exactly. You give enough details to share your experience, but you also leave space for the other person to respond and share their thoughts.
Because conversations are not speeches. They are a connection between two people.
Yes, and that's why asking questions is also important. If someone shares their day with you, don't just listen silently. Show interest.
Like saying, "Really? What happened next?" Or, "How did you feel about that?" Small questions can make people feel heard.
Exactly. And you can do the same when you're speaking English. If you add details and invite the other person into the conversation, your communication becomes much stronger.
I think that's the real meaning of talking about your day like a pro. It's not about sounding perfect or using advanced English. It's about making a simple moment feel like a real conversation.
Absolutely. And the best part is, everyone can practice this every single day because everyone has a day to talk about. You don't need a special topic. Your own life is already full of small stories.
That's actually a great point. And it reminds me that sometimes we don't realize how many small stories we have in our daily life. We think a story needs to be something big or unusual, but many of the best conversations come from simple moments.
Exactly. And that reminds me of something that happened to me a while ago. It was a very normal day. And honestly, at first, I thought there was nothing interesting about it.
Really? What happened?
Well, I woke up feeling a little tired because I didn't sleep very well the night before. I had a lot of things to do, so my morning started in a slightly stressful way. I was just thinking about finishing my work and getting through the day.
I think many people can understand that feeling. Sometimes we wake up and our mind is already busy. Before the day even starts, we are already thinking about all the things we need to do.
Yes, exactly. So I started working, answering messages, and taking care of different tasks. Everything felt normal. Nothing special was happening, and honestly, I thought it was just another regular day.
But then something changed?
Yes. Later in the day, I had a short conversation with someone. It wasn't a long conversation, and it wasn't something huge, but the person said something kind that I didn't expect. And somehow, that small moment completely changed my mood.
That's actually the perfect example of what we were talking about. The moment itself was small, but the feeling connected to it made it meaningful.
Exactly. If someone asked me earlier, "How is your day going?" I probably would have said, "It's just a busy day." But after that conversation, I could explain my day in a completely different way.
You could say something like, "My day was a little stressful at first, but something nice happened that made me feel better." That gives the listener a much clearer picture.
Right. And it sounds more natural because you are not only sharing what happened, you are sharing the journey of your day. You are showing how your feelings changed.
I really like that because sometimes we only focus on the negative parts of our day. We remember the problems, the stress, or the things that went wrong, but we forget about the small moments that helped us.
That's true. And those small moments can actually become the most memorable parts. Maybe someone helped you. Maybe you solved a difficult problem. Or maybe you had a conversation that made you feel better.
And these moments are what make your stories personal. Two people can have the same type of day, but their stories will still be different because their experiences and feelings are different.
Exactly. After that day, I started paying more attention to small things. I realized that every day has something worth talking about. Sometimes we just don't stop and notice it.
That's a really important lesson because when we notice these moments, we also become better at expressing ourselves. We learn how to explain not just what happened, but why it mattered.
Yes, and that is where English becomes more natural. You are not just practicing sentences from a book. You are using English to talk about your real life.
Exactly. And that makes a huge difference because real communication comes from real experiences. When you talk about something you actually felt, your words become easier and more meaningful.
And that's why your normal day is already enough. You don't need a perfect story. You just need to learn how to notice those small moments and share them with others.
Yes, and I think that is one of the biggest changes people can make when they want to improve their communication. They don't need to completely change the way they speak. They just need to add small things that make their conversations more natural.
Exactly. Sometimes people think improving their English means learning hundreds of new words, but a lot of improvement comes from using the words they already know in a better way.
That's true. A simple sentence can become much stronger when you add a little detail. You can talk about what happened, how you felt, or what you learned from that moment.
Right. And one mistake people often make is that they only describe the action. They say, "I went to work, I studied, or I watched a movie," and then they stop there.
Yes, and those sentences are completely fine. But if you want to make a conversation better, you can add something more. Maybe explain your mood, your reaction, or one small thing that happened.
For example, instead of saying, "I studied today," you can say, "I studied today for a few hours. It was a little difficult at first, but I felt happy because I understood something new."
Exactly. That sounds more like a real conversation because now the other person can connect with your experience. They can ask questions and continue talking with you.
And another helpful thing is not waiting for someone to ask you every single question. Sometimes you can naturally add information yourself.
That's a really good point. Because in normal conversations, people don't usually speak like they are answering an interview question. They share things naturally.
Yes. Imagine your friend asks, "How was your day?" You don't have to give a long speech. You can just say something like, "It was pretty busy. I had a lot of work today, but something funny happened in the afternoon."
And now your friend is interested. They might ask, "What happened?" And that's how a simple conversation grows.
Exactly. The goal is not to make every answer long. The goal is to give the other person a reason to continue the conversation.
I also think people should stop judging their own stories too quickly. Sometimes we think, this is not interesting, but someone else might actually enjoy hearing it.
That's true, because everyone experiences life differently. Something small for you might be meaningful or relatable for someone else.
And this is especially important for English learners. When you practice talking about your own day, you are building confidence. You are training yourself to speak without always stopping and translating in your mind.
Yes, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Start with small things. Talk about your morning, your work, your studies, or even a simple moment that made you smile.
Because every day gives you something to practice. Your life is already giving you topics. You just need to learn how to turn those moments into words.
Absolutely. And now we want to hear from you. Think about your day today and share one small moment that happened.
Maybe it was something funny, something difficult, or something that made you feel happy. Tell us about it in the comments and try to add one detail and one feeling.
We would really love to know your stories, because everyone's day is different and every story has something valuable inside it. Your answer might even help another English learner feel more confident.
So don't worry about making it perfect. Just write naturally. Share your experience, and remember that communication grows with practice.
Exactly. And now, before we finish, let's quickly look at some useful English expressions from our conversation today. These are phrases you can use in real life when you talk about your day, your experiences, and your feelings.
Yes, and the good thing is, these expressions are not only for this topic. You can use them in many daily conversations with friends, family, or even at work. Let's start with a phrase we use today, catch up on.
Catch up on means to do something that you didn't have time to do before, or something that you need to complete. For example, if you had a busy day and didn't finish your work, you can say, "I need to catch up on my work tonight."
I like this phrase because it's very common in everyday life. You can also use it with things like studying, messages, or even news. For example, I was busy this week, so I need to catch up on my emails.
Another useful expression is wind down. This one is about relaxing after a busy or stressful time. When your day is finished and you want to calm yourself, you can say, "I like to wind down before I go to sleep."
Yes, and I think this phrase feels very natural because everyone has a moment at the end of the day when they just want to relax. Maybe you listen to music, drink tea, or sit quietly. That's your time to wind down.
Exactly. Another phrase we talked about is make my day. This means something makes you feel happy or improves your mood. It doesn't have to be something big. Even a small, kind action can make your day.
For example, if someone sends you a nice message, you can say, "Your message really made my day." It's a simple way to show appreciation and tell someone that their action had a positive effect on you.
And I think this phrase connects really well with our topic, because sometimes the smallest moments are the things that change our whole day.
That's true. Another expression is run out of time. We use this when we don't have enough time to finish something. It's something people say very often in daily conversations.
Yes. For example, I wanted to watch a movie last night, but I ran out of time. It simply means the time was finished before you could do what you planned.
And this phrase is useful because our days are usually busy. We make plans, but sometimes things take longer than expected, and suddenly we realize we don't have enough time.
Exactly. Another helpful phrase is get through. This means to successfully finish something difficult or challenging. It can be about work, a stressful day, or a difficult situation.
For example, today was really busy, but I got through it. That means the day was not easy, but you managed to finish it and move forward.
I like this phrase because it shows strength. It doesn't mean everything was perfect. It just means you handled the situation.
And that's actually an important part of communication too. When you talk about your day, you don't always have to say everything was amazing. You can honestly explain your challenges and how you manage them.
Exactly. These small expressions help you describe real experiences. They make your English sound more natural because they are the kind of phrases people actually use in conversations.
And remember, don't try to memorize all of them at once. Choose a few, use them in your own sentences, and slowly they will become part of your everyday English.
Yes, the best way to learn is to connect these phrases with your own life. Think about your day and ask yourself, can I use this expression to explain something that happened to me?
Because when English becomes connected to your real experiences, it becomes easier to remember and easier to speak.
Exactly. And now that we have looked at these expressions, let's practice using them in your own daily conversations.
Yes, this is the part where you can stop listening and start speaking. Because improving your English is not only about understanding conversations, it's also about using your own voice and expressing your own thoughts.
That's right. So we want you to think about your day today. Don't worry about making perfect sentences. Just try to explain your experience in a simple and natural way.
Here is the first question for you. How was your day today? Think about what happened from the moment you woke up until now. What was one thing you did, and how did you feel about it?
For example, you could say, my day was pretty busy today. I had a lot of things to do, but I felt good because I finished my important tasks. See? It's simple, but it gives a clear picture.
Now, the second question. What was the best part of your day? Maybe it was a small moment, a conversation, something you achieved, or something that made you smile.
You can answer like, the best part of my day was talking with a friend. I was feeling a little stressed before, but that conversation really helped me.
And here's one more question. Did anything unexpected happen today? Maybe something funny happened, maybe there was a small problem, or maybe something surprised you.
For example, yes, something unexpected happened today. I was having a normal day, but then I received some good news, and it completely changed my mood.
Now pause the video for a moment and try to answer these questions out loud. Even if your English is not perfect, just focus on sharing your thoughts. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
And remember, you don't need to create a big story. Your real life is enough. Start with small moments, add a few details, and share how you felt.
Because that is what makes your English more natural. When you talk about your own experiences, you are not just practicing language, you are building confidence and learning how to communicate.
Exactly. And if you want to continue improving your English through real conversations, daily stories, and practical communication tips, make sure you subscribe to English Prime Podcast.
And don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed today's conversation. Your support helps us create more simple and useful English learning episodes for you.
Keep practicing, keep sharing your thoughts, and remember that every conversation is a chance to improve.
Before we end today's conversation, let's do a quick recap of what we talked about.
Today, we learned that talking about your day is not just about saying what you did. It's about sharing your experience, adding small details, and explaining how you felt.
Exactly. We talked about how a simple answer like, my day was good, can become a better conversation when you add more information. You can talk about what happened, what changed, and what you learned.
We also discussed that you don't need an exciting life to tell interesting stories. Even small moments can become meaningful when you describe them naturally.
And we looked at some useful expressions from today's conversation, like catch up on, wind down, make my day, run out of time, and get through.
These phrases can help you talk about your daily life more easily and make your English sound more natural.
So remember, don't focus only on speaking perfect English. Focus on sharing your real thoughts, your feelings, and your experiences.
Because every day gives you something to talk about, and every conversation is a chance to improve.
Yeah, and I really hope this helped you see that even your normal day can become a powerful way to practice English and express yourself more naturally.
Yes, and if you take just one thing from today, let it be this. You don't need perfect or exciting moments to speak good English. You just need to notice your day and share it in your own simple way.
Every small conversation you have, every sentence you try, and every story you tell is helping you improve step by step. So don't underestimate your progress.
Exactly. And the more you practice like this, the more natural it will feel to talk about your day, your thoughts, and your life without overthinking.
We really enjoyed this conversation with you today. Thank you for spending your time with us and being part of English Prime Podcast.
If you liked this episode, keep practicing what you learned today, and we'll meet again in the next one with another real-life conversation.
Take care, keep learning, and keep growing.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.